Hello everybody, how's it going today? My name is Joe Bedogne and I'm a real estate agent. This video is the 8th edition to my first time home buyers video series. And in this video, I want to talk about the search process that takes place when you're trying to buy a home. This, in my opinion, is probably the most intense portion. It's where all the meat and potatoes is of the actual buyer's process. So without any further ado, I'm going to get into some ways that I've made this a very efficient process. And by me making it efficient, it makes it easier on you, my buyer. So I do have a few hard set rules that I put in place to make this the most efficient as possible. Rule number one is I don't typically work with a client in terms of the search. Like we'll work with the client, but we won't go into the actual search portion of it until they've actually received their pre-approval letter from their bank, because I don't want you to get excited about a house, want to put an offer on it, but you're not going to be able to because you got to wait the week to 2 weeks to get your pre-approval. So we're just going to eliminate that out of the process altogether. We can still search on the MLS though during that period. Another rule I have is when we actually get to the point of going on showing appointments and looking at houses, physically looking at houses, I limit that to 4 houses per showing per outing. And the reason being, again, is I don't want you to get overwhelmed and bogged down, because when you look at more than 4 houses in one setting, you start mixing up what's what, because I mean there might be something in one house that you really liked and something you didn't like in another house, and by the time you get to the 4th house you kind of already start forgetting what was in each house that you liked and didn't like. So anything more than that, it's kind of an exercise in futility for all of us. Okay, so when we get to the actual like search part of it and we open up the search portal, I'm going to be doing a lot of research on the properties that come into the portal, and you ideally will be sending me your favorites. Please, please, please don't send me 30 of your favorites and then an hour later 20 more of your other favorites, and then 10 minutes after that 10 more of your other favorites. Don't do that, because I get overwhelmed and it makes my job a lot harder to help you. Help me help you, okay? Because I do research on these properties. I spend probably about an hour and a half per property that you want to send me. So to do all that research on 80 properties is just, you know, it's inefficient, and I'm not going to be able to do my due diligence to make sure I research the properties appropriately for you. So help me help you with that. And last but not least, I don't do same-day listing appointments or same-day showing appointments, again, for the same reason. I got a pretty rigid schedule, and I can't just drop what I'm doing because, you know, at 2 o'clock you said you want to look at a house at 4 o'clock. It's pretty difficult to do that. Not only that, but I have to make an appointment with the listing agent, and the house might not even be available at that time. So, you know, let's be efficient when we try to schedule everything. There's that. Now, after all those hard set rules, when I get into how we set up the search, you're going to see why those apply, why they're important. So what we do at first is we get all your criteria and we get it all out on paper, okay? And we find out your price, and that's based off of your pre-approval letter. So we get your price, we get your geographic location, we get your room size, we get the square footage of the property. You know, what type of model do you want? Do you want a colonial model or a ranch or 2-story, 1-story, whatever? You know, we're going to look at basement. Is it finished? Is it not? We're going to look at, is the garage attached? Is it not? We're going to look at all that stuff. How many bathrooms? You know, these are all the types of stuff we're going to take into account. And I'm going to try to put together a search that's very narrow. I want to get a very narrow. When I put all those filters in, I want the MLS to give me, you know, 25, maybe 30 listings tops, and we're going to keep adding filters until we get it down to that, because I want you to be looking at the best of the best, your favorite houses. Again, we're looking at efficiency here, because if you have a wide range, you have 90 houses, only half of those houses might meet your criterion, and not only that, you start getting overwhelmed when you're looking at 90 houses. When you're looking at 25, that's enough to really be discerning about various things. And so you're going to go through and you're going to pick out your top 5, top 6, maybe 7, and you're going to send me an email and say, hey, these are the properties I'm interested in. I was like, perfect, great, awesome. And I'm going to do some research on these properties, and I'm going to like look at the MLS and fine-tooth comb, and I'm going to look for stuff. For example, if you tell me you want a big master bedroom and you missed it because the pictures were absolutely beautiful, this one house, and then it just said that the master bedroom was 9 by 9, but you overlooked it and you sent me the listing, I might point that out to you and say, hey, by the way, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you do realize that the master bedroom is only 9 by 9. Do you still want to look at it? And if you tell me yes, I'm going to try to talk you out of that because you told me that was one of your criterion. And so now we're breaking your criterion. So we want to try to stick within that criterion to be efficient about this. You know, if you look at 20 houses and you find out that you're still not finding the house you want, then we can change the room size. And then we can start narrowing down or start widening your search and start taking off some filters and start widening your search. But I want to start with a very focused search at first, and we're going to eventually get wider. Hopefully we don't have to get to that, because the point is we're going to do all the window shopping. We're going to do all the research on these properties before we make an appointment to go look at them. And like I said, I'm going to get a comp on those properties to find out the value, to make sure that it's priced appropriately. And if it's not, in my mind, I'll have some data to show you what an appropriate offer would be. Okay, I'm going to look for defects on the property that are within the seller disclosure. If there's something in the seller disclosure that I am unclear of, I'm going to actually get on the horn and call the listing agent. You know, I'm going to do my due diligence, and I'm going to make sure that I research the crap out of that property, so that way I can provide you with all the information so you can make an informed decision if you still want to go look at it. Then once you go look at it, I will have all that information for you, and I can go over the disclosure with you, and we can look for defects. And you know, so by the time you decide to make an offer, you're making an informed offer. And that'll also help alleviate some of the buyer's remorse that goes with buying a house. So I hope this information was helpful for you. If it was, do me a favor and go ahead and like this video and leave a question, comment, or concern in the comment section. And secondly, if you are in the market to buy, sell, or invest in real estate and you reside within the state of Michigan, feel free to reach out to me at joerealdeals@gmail.com, and I'd be glad to get you started.